Broadcasting from the Professional Fantasy Football League studios in Marina Del Rey, California, I'm your host, John Hampton. This is PFFL Live. Welcome back, everyone. What a crazy week of upsets and shenanigans we've just had in week 2 of NFL football. I'll tell you one thing for sure. I have had enough of these replacement referees. They are terrible, taking unheard of amounts of time to review plays and in general making poor calls. The NFL should either pony up enough dough or get some refs who know what the hell they're doing. I mean, seriously, that Monday night game was ridiculously painful. Anyways, gotta calm down here. Moving onward into week 3, let's take a look at some matchups across the PFFL. We'll start by taking a glance into Tier 3F at this week's Matchup of the Week, featuring an up-and-coming rookie fantasy footballer versus a fierce smack-talking New Yorker, with Team Something Racist going against Team Yo-Yo's Toby Francis. The Yo-Yos, although 1-1 to start the season, have some real firepower, and Toby is no rookie to fantasy football, as this is one of his secondary teams in the PFFL. He is relying on notorious squelch and turnover machine Jay Cutler, which cannot be comforting, but reinforcing his shaky QB with Shady McCoy, all-day Adrian Peterson, V-Jax, and tight end threat Brandon Pettigrew. Wes Welker on his team should look to get more involvement this week since his legendary Super Bowl whoopsie now that target Aaron Hernandez is out. Now let's look at Something Racist. Something Racist was the player who jumped up the most in the power rankings after week 2, with huge performance by his QB receiver duo of Eli Manning and Hakeem Nicks. If that weren't enough, he's got Vernon Davis, who is flaring up hotter than my own VD, and Marshawn Beast Mode Lynch on a Seahawks team that doesn't look half bad. If Jamal Charles can see the field and actually get some carries, look for Something Racist to blow up this week. Let's go to the phones now and chat with him. Joe, so tell me, what does it feel like to be the most improved player of the PFFL this week? It's my understanding that you've never played fantasy football before. Is this just beginner's luck, or are you going to keep riding this hot streak?
Well, obviously it's very rewarding. I think, it is my first time, so I am learning as I go along. I've had some, great tutors at PFFL. I love the interface. I love the upside. I think week 1 was particularly bad. Perhaps a little bit too long, the Giants defense, where my marquee receiver is Hakeem Nicks, my marquee quarterback is Eli Manning. So obviously that's sort of doubling down on the Giants. So obviously the Giants struggled in week 1, but I have a lot of faith in that. So I would say that. I also have RG3 on my bench, so if anyone out there is listening in my league, happy to talk a trade.
Advertising your trade over the radio, Joe? I love it. So you're from New York, you love the Giants, and you have a great QB receiver duo with Manning and Nicks. How do you feel about Victor Cruz? Is he a significant threat to your fantasy production?
Yes and no. Obviously, I thought about that when I picked Nicks. The reason I say no is because obviously it's a dual threat, but Cruz really draws double coverage from the safeties, which allows Nicks to get single or rarely double coverage for the long passes. I actually see them being very complementary. I see the entire offensive passing attack to the Giants being very, very deep. I was kind of wrong about it, but I thought that they would be starting David Wilson, the rookie from Virginia Tech, out of the backfield. And he runs a really great route out of the backfield for short passes. He's got sort of a Reggie Bush type style that I think he'll grow into it. But I think between him and Cruz, he'll draw a lot of coverage from the linebackers and the safeties, particularly Cruz, which will really let Nicks and Eli throw bombs to each other. And, Cruz is part of my thinking there.
Great chatting with you, Joe, and after talking with you, I've got to say I'm giving you the edge in this week's Matchup of the Week.
All right, John. Thanks a lot.
Next up, let's jump up to Tier 1 for another crucial matchup with the big dogs Team Kizzle versus Tier 1 Imports. If you're paying attention to Tier 1 at all, then you saw a major upset in Week 2 as Germaniacs crushed Team Kizzle with huge performances from Reggie Bush and Hakeem Nicks, while Kizzle, relying on Peyton Manning and Julio Jones to pick up the slack, failed miserably. I will say, heading back home in Week 3, Denver should have a better game and look for Peyton to get back on track, along with DeMarco Murray, to get in the end zone finally. Tier 1 Imports has some hidden gems here. After a breakout week for Trent Richardson, let's see how he can follow up in that Week 3 against the Bills. Luckily, he seems to be involved in the passing game, so even in a blowout, he should still get plenty of looks. Imports running back crew looks pretty fierce with the law firm, Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, and Steve Ridley both looking at big seasons. Although I think Tier 1 right now has a better looking team, I'm gonna say I see an upset here with Team Kizzle and his notorious fantasy defense, aka Luck, taking a win. All right, now let's move back down to Tier 3A in a look at Southern California's Palos Verdes League. In this matchup, I love Out of Town Ass versus Moss da God. Out of Town Ass, gotta say I am enjoying your team logo. Wouldn't mind being the Hulk in that picture. This team is going to live or die by this week's Sunday night game, with both Tom Brady and Ray Rice battling each other. Also, Reggie Wayne. What a start to the year he has had. Look for him to continue his streak against a weak Jaguars defense. Moss da God has not only Arian Foster, but also Shady McCoy. How he wound up with both these backs, I'm not quite sure. But that rushing duo gives him a shot every week to take a win. It's a shame he wasn't able to get Randy Moss on his team. I mean, come on, your team is named after him. Get it together. I think Out of Town Ass has got this one locked down. Moss just doesn't have enough firepower to keep up with that squad. Look for him to go 3-0 come Monday night. As we move on, let's look at Tier 2 Red Roosters in a battle of two guys who are likely to compete for a slot in Tier 1 all season. Team Bring the Pain versus Big Wood. Bring the Pain is sporting Tony Romo at the top of the roster in a softer matchup against the Bucs. This has major points written all over it. Dwayne Bowe also ended up having a great day last Sunday, mainly from garbage time, but either way, look for him to get more and more involved, especially now that Charles is shaken up. Big Wood is no slouch, and coming in with a 2-0 start to the season, he still managed to put up a win, even despite Peyton's weak performance on Monday, mainly due to Victor Cruz and Tony Gonzalez, the young and the old, both putting up big weeks. It'll be interesting to see how the entry post-suspension of Mikel LeSure affects Kevin Smith in Detroit's backfield. But if he's a bust, look for Smith to have a big year. I think this will be a really close matchup, but I'm giving a slight edge to Bring the Pain, mainly because of his softer matchups. Wrapping up this week, we go back down to the Dirty Dale League in Scottsdale, in one of the only PFFL matchups this week, with two 2-0 teams facing each other. Team Alliance versus Team Murphaholics. Team Alliance is running a Saints-heavy team with both Breeze and Sproles at the top of his roster. This is always risky given their wealth of targets, but so far, it's paying off as he's 2-0 heading into Week 3. He might have to scramble a little this week as Ahmad Bradshaw is shaken up, but he should be okay with Bo on his bench. Murphaholics was a last-minute add to the Scottsdale League, but has showed up big time. He's got Mighty Mouse Jones-Drew going up against a pretty soft Indy defense, while Jags quarterback Blaine Gabbert is injured. Look for Maurice Jones-Drew to have a big week. If Cutler can get his shit together, and Wallace can continue to be involved heavily in the Steelers' offensive plan, then Murphaholics should keep riding this winning streak. However, because I do not see Jamal Charles making a comeback this week, and I see Michael Turner continuing to struggle, I look to Team Alliance to go 3-0 this week. Well, PFFL fans, that's it for your Week 3 previews. I'm John Hampton. Be sure to tune in Saturday for the PFFL Live, breaking news, and injury updates. And check out all the other content we are pushing out of the PFFL Facebook page and on our website. We are looking to have at least one show a day moving forward. You can always contact me directly on Twitter at RealJohnHampton. For more news, smack talk, and updates, visit us at thepffl.com. That's the-pffl.com. This has been a presentation of the PFFL.